and welcome to The Report, Cal State Fullerton's premier source for news, views, and info. I'm Morgan Klein.
I'm Evan Boydston.
I'm Michelle Vargas.
I'm Adrian Islas.
And I'm Sarah Fenton. On our final episode of the semester, we'll be discussing a controversial law proposal in Alabama to stop sex offenders.
Plus, marijuana legalization could become an option for California voters by next November.
And we will discuss the latest news surrounding the heated battle over bathroom laws in North Carolina.
All this and much more on the season finale of The Report.
All right, so I've been told or I've heard that the spring concert was amazing. Sarah, you were there. Tell us all about it.
I was there. That was actually my first spring concert, so it was definitely one for the books. ASI, I just want to say, did a great job. Very fun. I don't want to give too much away, but the performers were great. The environment was great. Everyone was definitely having a good time, but you'll see that in the package.
I love the energy, and I love just going crazy.
It's a whole nother level. Honestly, a whole nother level. Cal State Fullerton did a great job this year. I'm so stoked. I'm excited to be here. This is awesome. No, it's great. It's a whole other stadium that
We got socked in the face, but hey, that's what happens around.
It happens, whatevs.
For $12, like, I'll definitely come again.
Porter Robinson has just taken the stage to end the 2016 spring concert at Cal State Fullerton. We had Ray Shremmer that performed right before. The crowd has been crazy all night. We had puppies, a Ferris wheel, even some reptiles, and of course, free food. From Cal State Fullerton for the 2016 spring concert, I'm Sarah Fenton.
Well, it sounds like it was a great time. I wish I could have gone, but next year, because I'll be here still. Our first story is about a controversial new proposal in Alabama that would require sex offenders to undergo surgical castration. Steve Hurst, a member of the Alabama State Legislature, has proposed the law in cases where the offender is over the age of 21 and commits certain sex offenses. The law would also require convicted offenders to pay for paid surgery. Although 7 states have experimented with chemical castration, which is a procedure that lowers testosterone to pre-puberty levels and reduces libido, no states have offered the alternative of actual surgery. Hurst says the law is necessary and would help avenge the trauma so many children go through, but scientists have yet to determine if surgery would actually change the psychology of sex offenders, mainly because the reasons sex offenders commit these crimes are not always sexually motivated. And many civil rights groups, including the American Civil Liberties Union, have stepped forward calling the law an example of, quote, cruel and unusual punishment, end quote. This isn't the first time Hurst has proposed such a law, and although the latest incarnation of this proposal was not passed, Hurst says, quote, if you take one step forward, it's better than no steps at all, end quote. So what do you guys think of this type of law? Is it a viable option to help free up prison space and also release inmates, or is it a brash and unethical way to treat this problem?
I personally think it's somewhat of an archaic notion. You know, it sounds like something out of the Middle Ages, honestly. And the fact that there really isn't any proven psychology to help reinforce the fact that this would ultimately deter sex offenders from potentially committing future crimes, I think that speaks volumes as to how this law or this bill wouldn't work.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of a mental disease than it is a hormonal testosterone problem. I think at the end of the day, these people need psychological help.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think that if they want it done, let it happen. I think in the story they're saying that a lot of these people that have done these sexual acts have said, let this happen to me, and then they can go out into society. They're proving basically that they can be fit in society. But at the same time, it doesn't prove that they're not going to do it again. In the story, it's stated that it's not always sexually motivated. It's a psychological thing. So if they castrate them, who's to say that they're not going to go out and do it again?
Exactly. Going off of that is if somebody wants to harm somebody, they can still do that without penis penetration. They can still harm them, and like you said, it wasn't sexual motivation, but they can still do it. If they want to hurt somebody, they're still capable of doing so. I think that they just need to cut to the chase directly, and I believe in the death penalty. And I think that this, taking this away from somebody is cruel and unusual punishment. And I think that the death penalty, both of them are cruel and unusual. And I think that if you're going to commit these crimes, I think that you don't deserve to live, and you don't deserve to take up prison space. And I think that you just need to get the heck out of there.
You're not the first, Morgan, to actually mention that. And I've heard proponents before against sexual offenders really advocating for, okay, you know what, to really send a message home to these people, or people that have the potential to commit these type of crimes. You elevate the punishment to something as as severe as death, then I think it would deter ultimately a lot more people from even thinking about doing this type of stuff.
Well, they said this is like a one step forward. I don't think it's a one step forward. I think people are still going to commit these crimes. If you're motivated to do that, I think castrating is not sending a big enough message. I think that these crimes need to be stopped. I mean, this has gone on for hundreds and hundreds of years. And yeah, it is going back to the archaic, but we need to stop it. And I think that the death penalty is the best option in this sense.
It's definitely really sad when it has to do with children involved. I mean,
Right.
You don't just ruin women's lives, you're ruining a child, an innocent child. So definitely with that, there should be no mercy.
Yeah, I think it just needs to be discussed a little bit more. Something obviously has to be done to stop these people from doing it again.
Yeah, not to mention the language of the bill mentions how it would help avenge these victims that have been subject to sexual offenders, and it sounds almost like a revenge bill of sorts. So.
Either way, these people need to be stopped. Moving on to the next story, the situation in North Carolina's controversial bathroom law continues to intensify. This week, U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch announced a federal lawsuit against North Carolina over the bill. And later that same day, North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory announced a countersuit against the federal government. North Carolina State Law HB 2, otherwise known as the Bathroom Bill, prevents transgender people from using bathrooms that they don't directly correspond to the gender on their birth certificate, and mandates the way employers can choose to hire and treat transgender employees. McCrory says that the law is not discriminatory against transgender individuals, but instead that it protects them. He also said the federal government is overreaching in their requests of the state, and that this issue is now a national one. Meanwhile, the White House sent out a formal request for McCrory to condemn the law and said that if he did not do so by Monday of this past week, that they would take legal action. Loretta Lynch, a North Carolina native, said Monday in a speech, quote, "This is about a great deal more than just bathrooms. This is about the dignity and respect we accord our fellow citizens and the laws that we as people and as a country have enacted to protect them," end quote. The state continues to lose jobs and money. The Attorney General, as well as the ACLU, the White House, the Education Department, and countless independent parties have condemned the law and said they plan to pull support from the state until it is abolished. So I think the law should be abolished. I mean, it's obviously unconstitutional and it discriminates against transgender people. I mean, as a country, we all know that this is discriminatory against people. What do you guys think?
Well, when I was in Europe, it was really interesting because it was the first time I experienced just general neutral bathrooms. I don't know if it was to save space at the time, but I remember going to the bathroom right next to a woman who was in the stall right next to me, and it was completely normal over there. So we are very behind on the times because that was just everyday life when I was over in Europe.
Right. Going off of that, when I traveled a lot last semester, I was in Europe, Africa, and South America, and that's not a big concern at all to them. Men and women use the same restroom, and it's just, you got to go to the bathroom, so just go to the bathroom. I don't understand how people can't just build tougher skin, and there's a lot more to worry about than these bathroom issues. I mean, you're just using the restroom, so go in, get your business done, and get out.
I think it's the fact that they include the transgender word into the equation that puts people's emotional aspect and perspective into the situation.
Right, and I'll give you guys a different perspective here when it comes to this. As a parent of a 11-year-old, I should say, soon-to-be 12-year-old daughter, I don't think, and I mean, I understand where you guys are coming from when it comes to this bill and what your position is, but I think that, I wouldn't feel comfortable as a parent sending off my daughter to the bathroom by herself if there's the potential for a man to enter the restroom right after her. If I'm in a restaurant or Target, because Target now has made basically their bathrooms all-inclusive. If I send her off to the bathroom, I'm watching it at the corner of my eye for a man to follow her in, and of course I'm not okay with that.
I completely agree, but at the same time, then it would be way more acceptable for you to go in with her and make sure that she's okay and just wait. And then if anyone comes in and questions, you could be like, my daughter's in there, But I understand your reasoning on that too, but it just depends.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, for me, the bill talks about, preserving the dignity and respect of transgender people. And I'm not against that at all. What I'm saying is, look up on the flip side of it. Keep in mind the safety of children, when it comes to this. I can see the bill, I can see the reasoning there where it would be, you want to protect these people. Because honestly, I mean, if they're going to face backlash, I believe, anywhere they go when it comes to this bill. And it's just a matter of time. I see your guys' point earlier about it, we're behind the times. I just don't think the issue of transgender people is as prevalent in other parts of the world as it is here in the United States. And I think it's more of us making it a really big issue out of it compared to other parts of the world where, everything is all-inclusive and it seems to be the norm.
Well, going off, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Going off of your daughter being a young age, I think that they're starting to talk about them having them in elementary schools too. So I think that these kids are going to be accustomed to them when they start going to these elementary schools and then middle school and high school. And I think at some time it's just going to be a natural way of life. I don't think it's going to be a discussion. It's a discussion now because it's something new. But when it's just in our daily routine, I don't think that you would have to worry about it as much because she's going to do that at elementary school. And then like Evan said, is you could just walk in with her.
The issue I have with that and them including it into middle schools, high schools, is because nowadays they're growing up a little faster than how we were raised with technology and social media and what they get to see in the internet. I think that it may raise a big red light in terms of any type of genital abuse, touching, or, any type of those situations. I think that would raise an alarm for sure.
Yeah, it's a very valid point, Michelle. So moving on to our next story, it looks like California voters may get the chance to decide on marijuana legalization as soon as this coming November. In order to make the ballot, supporters were tasked with getting over 365,880 signatures. However, the coalition behind the initiative announced they have over 600,000 signatures in favor of the bill. Most notably, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom. Newsom said, quote, "This November, California voters will finally have the opportunity to pass smart marijuana policy that is built on the best practices of other states, includes the strictest child protections in the nation, and pays for itself while raising billions for the state," end quote. California was the first state to legalize medical marijuana back in 1996, and if approved, this bill will be the second time California voters get to decide on marijuana legalization. The first occurred in 2010 when Prop 19 failed by just 7%. If the law passes in November, California would become the fifth state to legalize recreational marijuana use, and it would impose a 15% tax on all sales of the drug. So guys, obviously, this is an issue that has been going on for quite some time. I mean, just recently, as 6 years ago, we had this back on the ballot at that time. You can see it narrowly failed. What are you guys' thoughts on this? What do you guys think of the potential for marijuana finally becoming legal in California, Sarah?
I say legalize it and put a tax on it. It's another way for us to make money. And if alcohol is legal and people are getting into car accidents from being drunk, why not make marijuana legal and put a tax on it? We're going to get money off of it, and then if people decide to smoke, then smoke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't smoke at all, and I think this would get rid of the taboo of it, which would make people that feel like they need to smoke because they don't know when they're going to be able to smoke again or be able to get marijuana again. It'll get rid of that taboo, so then they could just relax and they might be able to just pace themselves and just regulate it themselves. So that's kind of like when you get rid of the taboo of it, the rate will go down.
Well, to speak to Sarah's point earlier, in 2010, the government spent $3.6 billion enforcing laws against marijuana nationwide. When you look at the figures since 2014, when Colorado actually did become one of the more, actually I think it was the most recent state to legalize marijuana, they've actually generated over $1 billion in revenue. Roughly about 135 million of that has been generated for taxes for the state. So money-wise, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. Right? Yeah.
Well, looking at an economic side of it, I see where you guys are coming from. If we legalize it, we can tax it, open jobs, great job opportunity. My fear is that because it's going to be so new and it's going to be so legalized, I think people are going to want to be doing it all the time, always smoking. And with that, I fear of a stoner society in a sense that I think people would go to their jobs high, go to classes high. And at that point, it's like you're not fully capable of making yourself succeed in this world, which is fine. But if these people are living their lives high every day, they can't do anything. And if they're not doing anything, then they would probably go on a welfare. Wouldn't you think they would go on welfare?
If they're going to work high, and if they're not able to function at their job correctly, I think it would be up to the boss to fire them, which just leaves room for someone else to take their place. So I don't think that would be much of a concern because they know that they have to make money for them to live and for them to be able to supply marijuana.
But people could just fall back on welfare. They'll say like, oh, I can get money. Like, I don't need to live because I can be given money and live on the welfare system, which is a fear.
I'm not sure that the majority of marijuana users are actually, in danger of getting into the welfare system. I think if anything, the majority of them are maybe collecting unemployment for a little while. But that being said, the point you made, Morgan, about people being high all the time, that is a valid concern. I think as far as the bill, the language of the bill anyway, states that you still can't smoke in public and you can't smoke while driving. My biggest concern with the bill would be the increase in driving while intoxicated arrests. I think this might be something that the police departments and local law enforcement agencies might use as a tool to get people into the system, essentially, and treat it basically like driving under the influence of alcohol. And that is what's scary, is people stoned constantly behind the wheel. So.
Right.
Michelle,
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that we have a decision to make as human beings, whether we want to be progressive or we want to have setbacks. And this is just another obstacle that we even jump over or we get with it. And either way, I'm not going to be a smoker. So I think I'm not worried about it. But if those that do decide to become smokers, I mean, that sucks for you. If you're able to function, amazing. Like many people I know can go to work and you would not even know. Other people need it because they have ADHD and they focus better, or they have, body injuries. So they need that to kind of feel better and not, be taking a bunch of medicine. So I don't know. It's just such a give or take for so many different people. I think whether they legalize it or not, I just hope that it's a positive outcome.
It's a very interesting, controversial topic. So the outcomes will be interesting as well. Moving on, it is time for our final election update of the semester. And here to give us the latest on the race to the White House is our political correspondent and co-host of Tech On, Cassidy Jo Fortin.
The race to the White House has narrowed considerably, especially on the Republican side, where Donald Trump is the only candidate left. On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders is still facing off against Hillary Clinton, but Clinton continues to set her focus on Trump. Primaries continue to take place on a weekly basis throughout the country, most recently in West Virginia, where Trump and Sanders won respectively. Although Sanders is on a small winning streak as of late, his overall delegate count comes up about 300 delegates short of Clinton's 1,716. They will need 2,383 to win the Democratic nomination, while Trump is just 200 delegates short of the nomination on the Republican side. Experts say that unless Bernie can be successful in 70% of the upcoming primaries, Clinton could secure the nomination by the time the primaries reach us in California on June 7th. This all depends on who the superdelegates pledge their vote to. If they go with the majority of votes, Clinton could nab the nomination. But if they flip their support, or if Sanders can gain some last-minute momentum, he may still have a shot. This election has been newsworthy in a number of ways, from Donald Trump's surprise success as a nominee to the controversy surrounding Senator Sanders' lack of media coverage. One thing is for sure, no matter who wins, this has been a historic election. I'm Cassidy Jo Fortin for The Report. Have a great summer, everyone.
The first U.S.-led cruise from Miami to Cuba in over 50 years returned this week, but not without its own set of controversy. The Carnival Adonia arrived in Miami on Sunday morning at 6:30. It was reported by CBS that over a dozen passengers were sick with a mysterious stomach sickness. Carnival released a statement confirming the news, saying that the passengers were recovering and were treated immediately by an on-ship doctor. It's believed that the passengers were suffering from an E. coli-like norovirus that opposed to something more serious. The trip was the first directly to Cuba from the U.S. in over half a century, and the first time ships have passed through the Florida Straits since a brief period under President Jimmy Carter's administration in late 1970s. In 2014, President Obama announced an end to a hostile relationship between U.S. and the communist island, and the cruise is just one of the ways Americans are traveling to the country.
Former California governor and international film star Arnold Schwarzenegger visited the Cal State Fullerton campus this week. Schwarzenegger discussed the transformations he went through and what kept him motivated throughout his career. He stated, quote, "If you have a vision and you know where you want to go, then it is easy to do it." End quote. When California recalled former Governor Gray Davis, Schwarzenegger set his new goal stating, quote, "I changed the professions and I took the risk," end quote. The former governor also discussed what he was surprised at how divided the Democrats and Republicans are about issues that incorporate everyone saying, quote, "There's no Democrat or Republican air. We all breathe the same air and it is polluted," end quote. As the conversation ended, he talked about how the upcoming presidential election has distracted people from the real issues, expressing how he wished he could have run for president in the 2016 election, stating, quote, "I do regret that I wasn't born in America because then I could have run," end quote.
And now for a brand new segment on The Report, we'd like to showcase a bright and talented student who is making himself heard. Brett DeSalvo hosts a sports talk show on Titan Radio, but his show is far from ordinary. Adrian, you're on the show with him. Can you tell us a little bit about Brett?
Yeah, well, he's amazing. In my opinion, he's probably the most talented jock we have over at TIR, but I can sit here and talk about him all day. I think we should,
Let's
see
take
the
a look.
package.
This is Bloodlines with Legally Blind Brett and Adrian Islas.
My name is Brett DeSalvo, and I am the host of Bloodlines with Legally Blind Brett and Adrian Islas on Titan Internet Radio.
Explain to me how the Nashville Predators and the Memphis Grizzlies are in the Western Conferences of their respective leagues. I still haven't figured that out yet.
I was diagnosed with a rare retinal disease called retinitis pigmentosa when I was a junior in high school. Really started affecting me more after I graduated high school, started losing the ability to read and with my eyes, and issues with glare and lighting became more prevalent. I had a harder time distinguishing colors, and eventually things just kind of started getting blurrier and blurrier over time. Or now, like when looking at somebody or looking at something, it's kind of like looking through a really foggy shower door all the time.
Every offseason, Washington talks to him about an extension. He says, no, thank you. He politely declines because he has Scott Boras as his agent.
At that point, I still was in denial about my vision, my continuing vision loss, and what I still could see well enough to do most things, but I couldn't drive a car. My reading vision was getting worse and worse. I was making it worse by continuing to try to read with my eyes, which was accelerating the process. and personal life just kind of all went to hell for a few years there. You know, I had to start addressing it, the fact that this was actually happening to me, because it was kind of thing that I realized that whatever you're going through, there's always somebody else is going through worse, or there were people who had all their vision taken away in a flash like that, and they had to completely start life over in a brand new way. And I had this ability to transition into it, and I stopped feeling sorry for myself and just started looking at life completely differently after that.
The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, they're all going to have a lot of money off the books that offseason.
Once I transferred down here and pursued my bachelor's degree, one of the first things I immediately did was tried to find out what they had in the way of a radio station here, and talked to Christina, who was the general manager here at the time at Titan Radio, and went to the first orientation and was on the air. Did a live radio production class first semester here, and also got started with Blurred Lines my first semester here in August of 2014, and just been rolling ever since.
Okay, I just always confuse it because I know you were in the Bay Area for a few years, and that's why. So I figured you might.
Yeah, no, I have no love for any Bay Area teams.
Okay. Well, I've been working with Brett now for probably about the last 3 semesters. I basically serve as his board op. You know, unfortunately, he's not able to do it himself, so it gave me the opportunity to get plugged into the radio station here at Cal State Fullerton right away my first semester here. Yeah, well, Brett's awesome. I mean, he really is, that is his show. I mean, the personality he brings to the show is really what makes the show so great, in my opinion. He's one of the few people that I've met here at Cal State Fullerton in terms of my classmates that I can say that I learned something from.
Yeah, Adrian's become a good buddy of mine, and he sort of it's kind of been the yang to my yin.
This has been Blurred Lines with legally numbered and Adrian Islas. Titan Internet Radio. Listen, connect, express. Live long and be funky.
And Sarah, I just want to commend you for doing an absolutely amazing job on this package. I think you really captured Brett's story perfectly, and you didn't say a word the whole time yourself, which is really hard to do, I think, when you produce a news package. So, great job. Excellent. And now to our final story. It's the end of the road for many Fullerton students this semester. Finals are set to take place next week, and before we know it, commencement will be upon us. In these final academic moments for so many, we here at The Report decided to sit down with just a few seniors to discuss how their time at Fullerton has affected them and what they want for their futures. Let's take a look.
I believe all the leadership skills that I've attained in the various roles that I've occupied here on campus, both professionally and as a student, have definitely helped me, and I feel totally ready to lead the world.
Being honest with myself and understanding that it's okay to be interested in entertainment. It's okay to do like radio things and like in promotions and whatnot.
I feel like I've learned a lot from the academic side of being at the school, but the social aspects, meeting people, making friends.
It wasn't so much learning, but just the experience of working with people who thought different than me.
People are unpredictable, and you can't always control what they do, and you have to just do your best to work together.
Yeah, just learn to put up with people's shit.
That's going in. How to persevere. I suppose it would be my time managing it. Pick your major earlier, figure it out sooner, because I've changed mine probably 6 or 7 times.
Try out different majors and don't feel bad about starting over.
To relax and enjoy your time.
Probably to get more involved with things, just random activities, because you never know who you might meet or what you might get out of it.
I feel like I've learned more doing hands-on volunteering than I have in any of my classes.
That things are going to be okay, that it's okay that you don't know what you're doing.
Do the readings, you idiots. Just read the frickin' things. It's not that hard. Just do your readings.
I don't know. Do you really want to go into that whole?
Money and the lack thereof, I think, is the biggest thing on my mind at the moment.
I guess being indifferent and figuring out that maybe I don't like what I thought I wanted to do is my fear. I don't know. Yeah.
Just that the job market's scary, and California is such a really expensive and competitive place to live.
Getting a real job, getting a real career.
Just being unemployed. Unemployment's pretty scary, I guess.
I would say the College Park ones because they have that handicap restroom and there is a mirror and it's private and there's an outlet too. So if I need to curl my hair really quick or use my straightener, I can plug that in. So yeah.
Pollock Library South bathrooms, definitely. Or any bathrooms in any new buildings, to be honest, because those are the best. The basement of the library, because we're here all the time, and that bathroom rarely has anybody in it. It's big, and it's usually clean because no one uses it.
In the humanities building, they just finished I guess it's just a family bathroom. It's got like the male-woman sign on it, and you can lock it, and it's a single bathroom. So that's like the king of privacy right there. You can just walk in and really have your moment.
Definitely the one in the Halo first floor. Every time I walk by, that's the one I will go to. That's my favorite one.
I guess I've spent the most time in the Pollock Library basement, so it's gotta be my favorite.
That concludes our 9th and final episode of The Report, but first we want to thank our crew, please.
Come on up,
Without
guys.
your hard work and dedication, none of this would be possible. We just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, really.
And we have our graduating seniors, Michelle and Adrian. Thank you guys for all your hard work, and our producer, Michael.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You guys, seriously, I just thank you so much. This is like such a huge chapter. All my family's back home in Costa Rica, and I'm gonna cry. And you guys really have been a huge part of what college is. So thank you for helping us mold into the professionals that we're going to be.
I just have to reiterate that. It's been an absolute blast working with you guys. I've learned a lot from you. And a special thank you to Evan and Michael for producing such a great show. It's been actually an honor to be here with you guys, and we know the show's in good hands.
Yeah, and Gruber, we're going to miss you and all the rest of the graduating seniors. But that concludes this episode, and thank you all for watching. We will be back next semester with even more news, views, and info. Until then, I'm Evan Boydston.
I'm Morgan Klein.
I'm Sarah Fenton.
I'm Michelle Vargas.
And I'm Adrian Islas. Stay fresh, Fullerton.